This is going to be step 14, building armature, and this is video 4 out of 4. And this is going to show you how to put together all of the pieces that you have cut out. So all of these pieces that you have already drawn, and they are cut out and ready to be put together. So before you start putting parts of your sculpture together, you need to have at least 3 sides, because if you only have 2 sides, you know that this side is not going to stay up. So in order to start putting things together, you need to make sure that you have at least 3 sides that are going to go together. And you can see here that this corner down here lines up really nice with the other 2 pieces, and that it is measured really nicely so that it lines up really nice. Then if you look down on this end, you will see that I somehow have a very big piece here that is going to be hanging off the edge of my sculpture. Now this is okay, and since I spent so much time cutting out this piece, I'm just going to cut this part out once I have everything put together, because if it's just an inch or 2 off, it's not going to be a big deal. A lot of students are going to want to make sure that it is exactly the same measurements as on your drawing. If you are within an inch or 2, you will be totally fine with your sculpture. So when you put this together, you might want to hot glue some of this together, and that would be fine for the bottom part. However, if you look at this top part over here, this piece has this point, which means that this part of my sculpture needs to bend around that. So I need to probably use duct tape for that, because the hot glue is going to want to pull away from that. So if you decide to hot glue the bottom parts, you will want to take all of your pieces over to the hot glue gun station, but do not take any scissors or tape or X-Acto knives. Nothing should be over there except for your pieces that you need to hot glue, and maybe your packet if you really need it, and a pencil. So after you start gluing that, then we know that we need to tape this part. So sometimes I like to just have pieces of tape ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put some tape on. Now with the duct tape, you have to really kind of smush it on to the cardboard to make it stay really well. Because of humidity, there will be times where you will come back the next day and you will say, somebody ruined my sculpture. But it's really just because you weren't spending the time to really rub in your tape. And sometimes it helps if you take the end of the scissors to really get it in there and rub it really nice. So I'm just gonna make my little tacks of tape here. And then I am going to take the other side, and I am going to start putting together the edge of my tape, making sure that my seam is lining up really well. My tape's getting kind of together here. And you want to make sure that there's not going to be a gap there. So again, making sure you're rubbing your tape really well. You're going to take the next little piece, making sure there's not a space there. And then around this bend here, this is where I need to start folding in my side here so that I can get rid of that hole. And this is when it will help when you are working with your partner and not alone. And then continuing to bend that in so that there's no seam. So you're going right up against the next piece of chipboard there. And then when you stand it up, you can see how that piece lines up with the bend of this other piece. And then you can look at the pieces that you have compared to your tape dispenser or your sculpture item, and you can say, well, there's still kind of a line here that I don't get on this side. This is when you would come to the teacher and you would say, this is something that I want in my sculpture, but I don't know how to do it. And this is where I can help you say, well, if we do this, you will be able to make that work. So if I cut a very shallow line all the way across this, my chipboard will bend slightly and it will give you that line in there. So make sure that if you run into any problems that you make sure you come and you ask the teacher for help, because that is what the teacher is here for. And then once you watch the video, you can start putting together all of your pieces.